A cuttlefish walks on the sea floor, not swims, walks, and it will kill you if you eat it. Metasepia pfefferi, small enough to fit in your palm, found in the shallow reef waters of the Indo-Pacific, Indonesia, the Philippines, northern Australia. It moves across sandy substrate on 4 modified arm tips, each one pressing and releasing against the sea floor in sequence, the way a cautious animal tests uncertain ground. No other cuttlefish does this, not one of the 120 known species. Georg Pfeffer first described it in 1884, working from specimens collected in the Philippines, logging the description in die Abhandlungen aus dem Gebiete der Naturwissenschaften in Hamburg. He noted the unusual arm structure. He had no idea what the animal was advertising. Because while it walks, it pulses. White, yellow, deep red, bands of color rolling from mantle to arm tip in a rhythm that looks almost mechanical. Not camouflage, not a mating display. Something else entirely. Roger Hanlon at the Marine Biological Laboratory in Woods Hole spent field hours watching M. pfefferi move. In 2008, publishing in the Journal of Experimental Biology, he documented the locomotion precisely. Metasepia pfefferi is the only cuttlefish known to walk along the substrate using its arms and the tips of its lateral fins. The walking and the color display happen together, consistently. That pairing was the data point nobody could explain cleanly. But there is a reason the colors don't stop. The cuttlebone, the internal structure that gives most cuttlefish their buoyancy, is so reduced and porous in Metasepia pfefferi that the animal cannot sustain open water swimming. It is, in a structural sense, grounded. Walking is not a behavioral quirk. It is an anatomical consequence. 2 anomalies then, walking and warning colors that run at full intensity, even when nothing is threatening it. Both make sense alone. Together, they point towards something the biology has not finished explaining. The answer, confirmed in a 2006 paper in Toxin, makes this animal genuinely singular. That paper, and what it found inside the muscle tissue, is where this record gets stranger. The easy answer arrived quickly. The colors are a bluff. The walking is just what a slow, small animal does when it can't swim well enough to matter. Both explanations appear in the early literature. Both are reasonable. Both are wrong. Start with the walking. Roger Hanlon's 2008 field study, published in the Journal of Experimental Biology, documented something structural, not behavioral. The arm tips of Metasepia pfefferi are physically modified, thickened. Padded differently from any other cuttlefish species, the motion is encoded in the anatomy itself, not triggered by circumstance. This animal doesn't walk because swimming failed. It walks because its body was built to walk. The cuttlebone confirms it. In most cuttlefish, the cuttlebone is dense and buoyant, a biological life preserver. In Metasepia pfefferi, it is reduced and riddled with pores. It cannot generate sufficient lift for sustained swimming. The sea floor is not a fallback, it is the design. The colors tell a different story. The bluff theory rests on a well-documented pattern across the animal kingdom. Display without consequence, size without substance. Predators learn to ignore it. Evolution eventually punishes it. But in 2006, Mark Norman and colleagues published in Toxin, the muscle tissue of M. pfefferi, they wrote, contains tetrodotoxin at levels comparable to that found in blue-ringed octopuses, not a trace, not a hint. Lethal concentration, comparable to one of the most venomous animals in the ocean. This is not a bluff. The advertisement is honest. The colors mean exactly what they say, which dismantles the easy answer entirely and opens something harder. Tetrodotoxin is one of the most studied neurotoxins on the planet. Pufferfish carry it. Blue-ringed octopuses carry it. In both cases, the toxin is not produced by the animal. It is acquired through diet, through bacteria. The animal accumulates what it consumes. So where does a cuttlefish walking the shallow Indo-Pacific reef encounter tetrodotoxin in sufficient quantity to saturate its muscle tissue? Here is what the display was actually saying. Not camouflage, not a mating call, not a bluff. The pulsing amber and black and white moving across Metasepia pfefferi's skin during every single walk is an honest signal, advertising something real, something lethal, something the animal carries in its own muscle tissue. In 2006, Mark Norman and his colleagues at Museum Victoria in Melbourne published the confirmation in Toxin. The muscle tissue of M. pfefferi contains tetrodotoxin at levels comparable to that found in blue-ringed octopuses. One cephalopod family had carried that distinction alone for decades. Then Norman's paper landed. Tetrodotoxin blocks sodium channels completely. The body forgets how to breathe. There is no antidote. Metasepia pfefferi is carrying it not in ink, not in a defensive gland, but in the flesh itself. Here is what nobody expected. The animal almost certainly did not make it. Tetrodotoxin in marine animals is almost never self-produced. Huang et al. Established this in 1989. Noguchi et al. Reinforced it in 2008. The toxin moves through symbiotic bacteria, through diet, up the food chain, assembled by something smaller than the animal advertising it. The blue-ringed octopus acquires its venom this way. The pufferfish acquires its venom this way. Metasepia pfefferi hunts small crustaceans and reef shrimp across shallow Indo-Pacific substrates. The leading hypothesis is dietary acquisition. But as of 2024, no study has identified the specific bacterial symbiont or the precise dietary source in this species. The lobe is open. The most spectacular honest signal display in the cephalopod world is advertising a toxin whose origin the animal does not control and may not have chosen. A creature the size of a palm, walking, pulsing with color, carrying a neurotoxin it likely inherited from something it ate. Science cannot yet trace the chain back to the source. What the index concludes: Metasepia pfefferi solved the problem of being small and slow, not with speed or size, but with chemistry it borrowed from the food web. The display broadcasting that chemistry is the most honest advertisement in the ocean, for a danger that still has no complete explanation.